Hey guys, this is Tanner Allen with Journey Training. This is Coach Brandon, and today we want to address two clean coaching cues that we see happening consistently. These are two common mistakes that many of our members deal with, you might be dealing with right now, and so we want to address them, show you what not to do, and also give you some of the quick fixes and drills that will help you fix these problems. So first things first is an improper front rack position, catching the bar too low, not getting the elbows up, not letting the bar release into the fingertips. So Brandon's gonna do a couple incorrect reps here, where the bar is very low on the chest, not nearly up as high on the clavicles. Elbows are pointing down. This is putting a lot of stress on the wrist and the elbows. Let's go back down to the start. One more time, incorrect again. So here, Brandon's not ready to squat because that bar is going to shift a lot of his mechanics forward without being truly on the front rack there. So to fix this, we're gonna let that bar release. Let's see a correct clean there, Brandon. Notice the change in the elbows. Elbows are pointing out and forward. That bar is very, very high on his clavicles, up and tight to the throat. Reset down, Brandon. And after we clean it, let's get into that zombie squat position. So full front rack, okay, release. This bar is gonna stay here without hands attached to it. So this is the true front rack. When you can hang out here, this is where we wanna be. Now as Brandon goes down into a front squat, that bar stays up on the front rack. Awesome, you can drop. So without the proper front rack, if that bar's low on the chest, he needs his hands holding onto that bar or else that bar would drop. So we want to get to a place where the front rack now becomes the standard, also keeping the bar very close to you. What we see tends to happen when people are missing the front rack is they tend to miss cleans out in front. So maybe drop one accidentally. The bar's drifting out in front. They're not high and tight. Go again. Almost get there, but not quite. Failing to get fully up and tight will always leave the bar out in front of you, chasing a bar, leaning too far forward, walking forward to chase down a bar that's not properly front racked. Secondly, we want to address pausing at the thighs and not using a consistent speed or actually increasing speed from the knees to the hips as we're deadlifting. So show what like a pause clean would look like. So essentially what he's doing, do a couple more reps there. Essentially what he's doing here is deadlifting, stopping at the thighs, hang cleaning from the mid-thigh, low thigh, killing all of his momentum that he could have had he continuously pulled from the ground. So now let's pull aggressively from the ground and continue that momentum. Notice the change in speed from the knees to the hips. The bar continues to move quickly, not stopping. We know that pause reps are always harder than normal tempo reps. So this is something that people get fixated on when they think about the bar touching or grazing their thighs. You get so obsessed with your thighs that you tend to stop, hit the thighs, and then pull. And what you're actually doing is you're killing your momentum. So you want to see a consistent tempo. Give me just a high pull from the ground up. So this is a great drill to work on to develop really good power and just really driving from the ground into that high pull. Good. If it helps you just to break this down into segments where, I'm gonna hop in, segments where all I'm doing is just deadlifting, right? So here's my first pull, deadlift, I get to the top, I deadlift, I don't stop in my deadlift. This would be awkward if I stopped and then I stood up. That would be unnatural just to a normal deadlift. So we're gonna do the same thing with our clean. Get tall, second pull here, high pull, and then obviously at the top, cleaning, getting to the top there. So don't stop your bar momentum. A couple drills that we can do to fix these. So let's really break these down, give you guys some tools to get to the front rack. Number one thing that stops the front rack is mobility. Wrist mobility, lats, and external rotation on the shoulder. So if you cannot get your wrist to extend, first things first is loosening up the wrist. We have to strengthen and mobilize the wrist. So wrist rotations, extending the wrist, stretching the forearms out, properly warming up the wrist before, even wrist extensions and flexions with small dumbbells to strengthen the wrist, doing some grip work to strengthen your forearms as well can be a good way to start there. Secondly, the lats are gonna be a huge part in getting to the front rack, so having proper lat mobility. Coach Brandon's here doing a kneeling lat stretch, so triceps, elbows are on the ground. As he pushes down, he's extending through that shoulder, flexing the shoulder and lengthening that lat. Make sure the hands are about shoulder width apart and keeping that chest driving towards the ground. So you should see no rounding, more extension of the spine, dropping the hips back. Obviously, he's very flexible, so that looks great. Let's stand up and show him the standing variation. So this can be done with one arm or two arms. So here's a two arm variation, something similar. And then if he wants to glide side to side, opening up one side of the body, show them a single arm variation. If you want to isolate one arm, just grab on with one arm, always keeping that elbow locked out, so not bending or compensating through the elbow joint. And then lastly, standing rotator cuff. So externally rotating the shoulder through that. You can see he's got great external rotation. One of the compensation patterns here, face the mirror there, Brandon, is arching the back, trying to get more rotation through the shoulder by extending the back. So keep the core tight, make sure the core is braced, and then the elbow is in a fixed position. The opposite hand is doing the work to get more external rotation of the shoulder. The front rack is really hard, guys. This position is very uncomfortable. We know that. Sometimes it takes months for you to figure that out, but we promise you it's well worth the effort. So work hard, hard at your wrist mobility, work hard at your lat mobility and your external rotation on the shoulder. So wrist, lats, and shoulder, those will be things that will be really, really helpful for you. And then don't slow down your bar. One of the things that we see that just kills momentum is people stopping the bar. This is an aggressive lift. Get after it. I promise you, you'll have more fun when you get after it, and don't hold back.